Good evening, all. Good evening. This has been a live field day because I still got one more I'm going to do this evening, I think. But we're here to talk about the three H's. Excuse me, Heart, Hustle, Houston. And, I hadn't even did a live. I'm like 4 episodes behind. So I said, let me do it all in one and catch us up. So we're going to start out with an introduction of all the young ladies. And I don't know whose production this is, because at first I thought it was a Carlos King. Then I found out someone told me it wasn't. So I don't know who it is that's doing this, but this is a good reality show. It really is. It's a good reality show. I enjoy watching it. The women, they all are bosses. Um, Black excellence. We're getting a little bit of drama, a little mess, a lot of excellence. Um, I think it's a great show. And so far, it's been better than Potomac. It's been better than season 15 and 14 of I'm gonna say 16 too of Roa. It's a good show. I mean, it comes on the Oprah Winfrey Network on Saturdays after Love and Marriage Huntsville. This show is with these boss women in Houston. And what I like about it, they're not like fabulous like type women. They seem, down to earth. All of them are entrepreneurs. They are very business minded, and these are go getters. I would say they are high middle class women. Only one who lives somewhere that's like on a ranch is one lady. The other ones, they live in like subdivisions to me. One looks like the same. Well, I'm not gonna say the same, but her house looks a lot like my cousin's house. She lived in Houston. Lives in Houston also. We're really outside of Houston, and so I mean, these are women that I can relate to. They look like from the ages, I don't know, like maybe mid to late 30s to early 40s. And, there's a mix of single women and married women that have been married, seems like 10 plus years. Some married straight, married their high school sweetheart. So we're going to get into it. I had to push this live back a couple times today because I had to deal with my dad. Then my mom had a situation that been going on for a week. That's going to be my story time tonight because I got some things I need to get off my chest. My mom is a teacher, and was having issues. So I said, I want to make light, bring it to light and see what other people feel about this. Okay, so first off, we're going to start out meeting the cast. I'm going to put down the overlay here. And we're going to start out, I guess, my left. I'm going to start. Hopefully you can see the cursor here. We're going to start out. I guess I want to start with. No, I'm going to start it as they come in. We're going to start here. The lady back here, the 4-figure lady in the orange or rust color. Her name is Latoria Lemon. She is a publicist. She's been in the picture. She's been connected to 50 Cent, Shaquille O'Neal. She's done. She's an award-winning publicist, and she's now a new restaurant owner. Then we have Chloe right here. Chloe Cook. She is a wedding event planner. Then we have Labrina. Labrina here. Her name is Labrina Jackson. She is the Escape Spa owner. Very nice spa. Then we have Ro back here, kind of tomboyish Ro. I like Ro. Ro, she is a general manager and consultant for a nightclub, and nightclubs and restaurants. That's been her thing. And then we have Miss Manera Page. Manera Page is a boss woman. She was an electrical engineer, and she's also right now, she was electrical engineer for 20 years. She's during that 20 years, she was doing content creating for 10 years of that, and she decided to do content creating solely and let the electrical engineer go. So she was a boss lady too. I mean, it's a boss lady. And then we have Elena right here. Elena with the body to the T. Her name is Elena Salisbury. She's a makeup studio owner. She was a professional makeup artist. Okay. Let me. And I think, is that all the women? I want to make sure I got all of them. And then we have, yeah, I said we got Ro. I think we got all of them. Okay. So we have Labrina, Ro, Chloe, and Chloe's a wedding planner. We have the publicist, which is Latoria. We have Elena, who is the makeup artist. And then we have our content creator / electrical engineer, Marina. Am I pronouncing her name right? Let me make sure I'm saying it right. Manera. Sorry, Manera. Okay? So that's the ladies right there. Come in and chime in and let me know where you're coming in from. Okay? So then, so this is, like I said, the setting is Houston. So let me back up a little bit. We're going to start back over with the lady over here to my left. Hopefully it's your left too. To my left, that is Labrina. Labrina has a beautiful spa. She is married. She's been married for about 10 years or a little bit more than 10 years, somewhere in there. And she's married to an ex-football player, a retired football player, I believe. And then we have, she has 2 children. She had one before she married her husband. She lives on a ranch, beautiful home, 5 acres. Nice. She has horses, all of that. So then we have Ro. Ro has 1 daughter. We learned that Ro, she's always been career oriented. And when she found out she was pregnant, she actually contemplated getting a divorce. I mean, a divorce, an abortion. Lord have mercy. An abortion, because her baby daddy had just got indicted by the feds. And she went to the abortion clinic, decided not to even go through with it. Then we have Chloe. Chloe in the middle, she is a widow. She was with her husband for 7 years before they got married. So on their 7-year anniversary, they got married. 2 months later, he died from a heart attack. They have 2 children together. Her babies look like in elementary school, look like from maybe 5 or 6 to probably 9, look like. She has an older son who's about somewhere, I don't know, between 23 and 25. Also, let me go back to Ro. Ro has a 12-year-old daughter. Then we have our girl, what is her name again? Latoria. Latoria, the publicist. She has no children. She's been celibate for 3 years. And she's waiting on the Lord, basically. She's like, because she find a man, she wants, wanted to be more than just, she wanted to be something, a soul connection. Then we have our girl with the body to the T, I'm going to say, because that lady had a nice body. Have a nice body. Okay. That is Elena. Elena Salisbury. She's been married for, I believe, 15 years. She's been with her husband for 21 years. I can relate to her because she met her husband in high school. It was a high school sweetheart. She was in the 11th grade. He was in the 12th. Okay. So now, if I didn't miss something, I don't think she got no kids. I'm not sure. But anyways, she's having marital issues. She did admit to Labrina that her husband had cheated on her during their engagement. And evidently they're having some more issues because for the last 3 months, her and her husband's been sleeping in separate rooms. Okay. Then we have, I don't know what the heck is in my glasses. God dog. But anyways, then we have Manira. Manira, she's content creating. She has her husband. He's there. He's working a lot. She has 3 beautiful daughters, and her mom lives with her. And her mother is from India. Looks like she said her mother and her let me see, her mother and father divorced when they were young, when she was very young, and her let me get that right. They divorced when she was very young, but her mother used to live across seas with the dad, and she moved, I guess, to the United States, and she's raised Manera. Okay, so let's get it started here. So it starts out. Let me remove this. So it starts out. Our girl Latoya is having a soft opening for her restaurant that she went in with someone else. They built it from the ground up. It's called Rain HTX, which is Houston, Texas. And she's having a soft opening and having basically a get to know session with the ladies. So the ladies all come in and to meet each other and kind of learn a little some things about each other. Okay. So as they were talking and things, and I guess the women kind of sense a little bit is going on with Elena, because Elena did not have on her wedding ring. She don't wear her wedding ring like that, I don't wear mine all the time. My husband don't either. I think one reason why, because every time my husband buy my rings, and and I went through, we've been together. How long we been married? We've been married 31 years. Okay. When we first got married, I weighed down 100. And now I weigh a whole lot. 100 pounds. Okay. So a lot of times my husband was real thin, too tall, thin, light-skinned dude, short, dark-skinned woman. His fingers swell. Mine's I wear when I dress up, and that's when I put them on. And other than that, I take them off. I only have one ring I wear all the time. This is the one he got me 1 year for Christmas. That's the one I wear because it fits perfectly. I need to have the other one size, the other ones. But I said, I want to get to that perfect weight and then have them size to the right finger size. Because my weight has been kind of fluctuating here in the last couple of years. So it is what it is. I just got a jewelry box full of rings, honey. That's it. So, Chloe wanted to know why she didn't have the ring on. She goes, girl, if I was married, my ring gonna be on all the time. So she was trying to figure out what was this about. So then it kind of got, a little bit of back and forth. And she was saying, hold on. Elena said, okay. So Chloe was saying, you fine. And, don't your husband realize you fine and this and that and the other? Because they kind of insisting something is going on with them. And she said, yeah, I'm fine. And my husband, he's fine too, is what Elena says. And Chloe was like, no, he ain't. Your husband not fine. Elena about have a fit because this girl said her husband ain't fine. Girl, fine. Everybody got their own taste of men or whatever. So meanwhile, while they're at this soft opening, the food is coming out kind of slow. And Labrina was like, hey, the standard has to be a standard. We have to set our standards up high because we don't never get a second chance. And first Latoya didn't, she kind of begged to differ. Everybody's money is not the same, but she said it doesn't matter because we as a Black community are harsher on our own kind. So in order to keep them from saying anything, I want to have my standards up very high. Okay. So Chloe, she talks about she's dating a guy, and his name is Jordan. She's dating him, and he's 17 years her junior. And the women are like, what, or whatever. And Labrina was like, ain't no way in the hell. No, I could have. Why? What do you got in common with this man, basically? She's like, Labrina is, she said, the difference, she talks about, hey, maybe, she's cougaring now. She has this young man. Y'all have nothing in common. Men actually mature slower than women. So what could you possibly see in this guy? So Elena still is in her feelings about what Chloe has said about her husband not being fine. Okay. And then so there's a meeting. Let me go back. So then, we also Ro, she likes younger guys too. And Chloe kind of threw her up under the bus, like Ro likes younger men. So while Ro is explaining things and everything, the confessional that Chloe is doing is like cue the subtitles, because Ro talks fast. She reminds me of my little cousin. Kind of a little tomboyish, like, my cousin's a very pretty girl. She's married, has a baby, has a daughter, but she's a little tomboyish. She's I believe she plays basketball and all that kind of stuff in high school, but they kind of talk the same way a little bit. And that's what it reminds me. Not really, they're about the same complexion, but they look different. But she reminds me of her. And Ro was just saying, she talked about, she had put her like her 2 weeks notice in at her job, but her boss is her friend, so I guess she's feeling like I'm spending too much time here, and I need to spend more time with my daughter. And so we go here. So then, like I said, then we go over and Elena, it goes to the ranch where Labrina lives. This all is in the first episode, so I'm kind of speeding it through. But that's what she tells Labrina, that her husband had cheated on her during engagement. And let's see here. Tori and Elena talks about Chloe's comment and can't get him in. Okay, so then we have a scene where Latoria invites Chloe over because she noticed that at the soft opening, the kind of back and forth between Chloe and Elena, she wanted to like kind of squash that and just kind of talk with her, because it seems like I think Latoria is going to be like the bone collector. She's going to be like Sheree, but not really messy, but she wants the group to, stay peaceful. So she's going to bring it to the attention of the other ladies, so she wanted to see if they could squash the issue or whatever. But Chloe didn't mean nothing by it, your man ain't fine to me, she didn't. I guess she was giving Elena a compliment about how nice she looked in this. Her husband realized, how much of a dime piece he has, basically. And Elena just took it all the way left. And, so we'll find out what Elena thinks about that. But Elena basically tells Latoria that she didn't like the comment that Chloe made. And that, because let me get this right. Chloe and, Elena and Latoria are together. And she didn't like the comment. She thought it was tasteless. And that basically Elena, if she tried, couldn't get a man of the same caliber that she can pull. And then we go on to find out that Elena and her hubby, they were in business together for 10 years. And now she's wanting to be in business by herself. So she, like I said, she had a makeup lounge. She used to call it something else now, but it's a makeup lounge now. And so she could separate that business from her husband, because she didn't like having a coworker that's her husband, like they're not having enough time apart. And I think that was probably getting on their nerves. We're together all day at home, then we're together all day at work. It wasn't working out or whatever. I don't know, but it seems like, because we see that in this group of friends, she has the issue with her husband, and the group of friends are noticing it. They can sense it, and she's kind of shuts off about it. She opened up a little bit, but that's it. When they found out they weren't sleeping in the same room, the women was like, "What?" And she was honest about that, but she's not really telling them why. And we all can kind of figure out there has to be some kind of cheating. And she admits in her confessional, she's not sharing that because she wants to protect her husband. And but basically she really can't move forward with whatever happened. And she's the trust part has been she can't trust him like that. Sounds like cheating to me. But who knows? So let me keep on going. So then they have a couples night. And what I kind of like about this, when they have the couples night, it's the couples. It's not the single people, because they're all trying to meet each other and learn each other. So all the couples that are couples, they come over to Will and Labrina's house out there on the ranch, honey. Nice ranch, got horses and all that stuff. So we have Norm and Manira, and they've been married for 11 years. Like I said, they have 3 children together, and she's been an electrical engineer for 20 years. We have Josh and Elena. I told you about they've been married 15 years, and something's going on in their marriage. So we also have the other ladies have a single ladies night too. So here we have before we get to the single ladies night, there was another scene, but anyways, let me let you know. I already let you know that Chloe, she has 3 kids. So the single night consists of Chloe, Ro, and Latoria. And the single night is at Latoria's house. And Ro is considering quitting her job, which I already mentioned that. And they have a sugar mama conversation, and says that Latoria needs to start dating. Like I said, she hasn't been dating, and she has been celibate for 3 years. So all of them are intending on trying to get her a date so she can knock the webs off the cootie and get it popping again. They say she a BBW. So, she need to, get her man friend, I already explained to you about it's bad when you're trying to do all these episodes at one time. So Rose, she talks about, the kind of men she like. And Rose says, because she's about 5'9", she says, and she says she likes a tall man. And he has to be 6'5" or taller. She likes basketball, like player, like type men or whatever, guys that are really tall. And says, you got to be tall to climb this here. They said, what if you found a man who was like really short, but, tall laying down? And Chloe said, well, we would have to try him. So that's kind of how they kind of end episode 1, the women, like they're still filling out each other. So then we start episode 2 with Elena, the makeup artist. She has, it's called Color du Jour Makeup Lounge. And she has a new makeup lounge. They're putting it together, and her husband comes over to look at it. And he's really impressed with how it looks. And then so she tells Josh, let me make sure I'm right, about what Chloe said and how Chloe didn't think he was fine. He said, you don't care, He said, how do I feel about a person that I don't know, that don't think I'm fine? She's not my wife. Why would I care? He said, everybody has their own taste. So let her have her taste. I'm like, yeah, because that wouldn't bother me either. She didn't call him ugly. He's not a bad looking guy. Her and him, they match. Everybody has their own idea of what we find very handsome. And maybe that's not what what Chloe was thinking was handsome. So he said he didn't care. So they were talking about counseling. And Elena was asking her husband, Josh, how did he feel about counseling, marital counseling. And he was like, well, I'm having issues with it myself. So I really think I need to do like individual counseling, and maybe later on we could do marital counseling. Because they're saying the goal is to get things back like it should be, and maybe they should work on each other individually, and then come back and try to do something together, so they can kind of find where they go. So that's the therapy they need. So then we have Monera, the content creator. So her and her children and husband, they're doing a photo shoot. Beautiful family. Now, for some reason, I think she said, I'm not sure, but maybe she said something about foreigner culture. So I think maybe her husband may be a foreigner too. I'm not very sure. He looks a little different. I'm thinking not really different, but I would say he doesn't sound any different. And shoot, what's the last name? Is it Page? I don't know. Maybe Jamaican or something. I don't know. He sound regular. He look regular too. So I don't know. When I say regular, I mean regular black. So they're there, and she says that her mother and her husband, they don't see eye to eye. So, she wants them to get in a situation, since they all live together, whereas they can communicate, see eye to eye. It makes it easier for her, since she wouldn't have to be in the middle of things. Okay. And like I said, she has some beautiful daughters. They have beautiful daughters. Beautiful. Beautiful little girls, beautiful black looking family. And I say black looking, beautiful black family. When we say black, most people think one thing, like we say, Monera, she's a dark skinned lady with real beautiful hair. So it looks like I would say that maybe her dad may be African or something. Some type of something from some country in Africa. Her mom's very a dark Indian, because I don't know. Don't give me lying. I don't know, but I know her mother says she's from India and her name is Diane. So we have a scene with Ro and her daughter. And Ro asks her daughter, did she like where they live? And she said, yeah, I don't want to move. And they get to talking about her putting in her resignation at Victory. And and not having time for her daughter. Then her daughter talks about like some text group she was in, and some girls wanted to fight her, like she's having boy trouble already, and they're talking things out while they're shooting hoops. I told you this lady a little tomboyish to me. I like her. Her daughter is 12 years old, so she's talking about her things that's going on at school, and she told her daughter that she got a date. And her daughter goes, with who? LeBron James? And she goes, LeBron who? LeBron James. Her mom goes, isn't he 87? She said, no, you just turned the same age he is, or he just turned the same age you are. It was a cute little scene, okay? So then we have Monera and Norm. They go out because, like they're not spending much time together. They have a dinner date. And this dinner date is basically, what is it called? Cooking with a twist. So they're out cooking their own dinner. And what we learn is that Monera didn't cook. Her husband cooked. Honey, Monera's like me. We both short. We little dark-skinned ladies. And we don't cook. My husband loves to cook. I don't. I like to eat. I like to eat. I don't like to cook. I hate cooking. With a passion. I hate cooking. holiday dinners, all that kind of stuff. My husband does that. He loves to barbecue. If he's doing Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, I don't do nothing. I come down and help clean up. And usually he don't like me in the kitchen with him when he's in there cooking. He might require me to like if we having whatever, a big dinner or something, if he wanted me to make a certain side dish or something, then I how to do that. But I hate cooking with a passion. When my mom bought me an easy bake oven when I was 10, I'll be 53 in about a week. I thought it was, it's going to be, because I kind of wanted one for Christmas. But when I got it, and this is a long time ago, about 43, about 40, 40 years ago. 43 years ago to be exact. Honey, that dang old, because they had a light bulb in there. It took forever to make them 4 little cookies, honey. I was like, oh, this ain't for me. No, my brother, it was waiting like, come on, Ursula, let's make some more cookies. No, you can make some. I ain't got time for this. No. So I was over that. So Manira, she's learning how to cook dishes. And, the husband like, Lord, please let her learn how to cook. He said she know how to cook some dishes, but, she just, that ain't her thing. She was an electrical engineer, honey. That's why I told my husband, you got a woman that what? You got a woman that hustle. I ain't got to be in that kitchen being the Susie homemaker, because that's what I went on to do. I told him, I said, that's what you love to do. That's not what I like to do. I can go out to eat. And if you want to cook, fine, because he's always, whatever, he's home. Like every day last week when he was on vacation, what we eating? What we eating tonight? I'm like, I'm not worried about that. Go figure it out. Go. Yeah, so I'm spoiled that way because he loves to cook. But mostly, since we're empty nesters, every night I just pick up something to eat. I don't cook. So that's that with that. So let me go on. Okay, we got that part. So they did the cooking with the twist, and her and her husband are hanging out. So they're having a good time. So then we have a scene with the 3 ladies. We got Ro, Labrina, and Manera. And that's when Ro explains to them, the situation she had, far as when okay, hold on a second. Oh, okay, we removed that one. Okay, so am I still on there? Yeah, I was having trouble with Facebook or something. But yeah, when so she goes into detail about her situation and says that she's always put her career first, and right now she's looking around and she's ready to be in love. So she's wanting to have that husband. She wants to spend more time with her daughter. Her daughter was the best thing that happened to her. At first she was unsure about being pregnant because the baby daddy got indicted and all that kind of stuff. So, but she's glad she went through and kept her daughter. That's the best thing for her. Then we got Mama Diana and Manera. They're down there by the pond talking, and Manera is had explained that the mom used to live overseas with the dad, and the mom is from India, and they're just talking, about things, and mom and daughter talk. And then we have Chloe with her children. Okay. And Chloe's husband is having his 50th birthday, his heavenly birthday, 50th birthday. So they go out to the graveyard or the cemetery, and they go and take care of the his headstone. They clean it and everything. She has some beautiful daughters, and that's when she tells the story about how her and her husband were together 7 years. On the 7-year anniversary, they got married. 2 years later, 2 months later, he had a heart attack. So she's having a hard time, she's struggling, to with her 2 daughters. I mean, raising them alone. This is not what she planned. And this man had to be, if he just turned 40, looks like he must have passed away. I'm going to say 2020 or 2021, because at the funeral services, looks like she had a mask on. People not really wearing masks like that in church. So, but he had a heart attack and died. And her husband's name was Noel. And like I said, she has the 2 girls with him, and then her son, Nico. And she was kind of upset because her son, Nico, did not come. Okay. And so she had his family members and friends, they came out there to celebrate his birthday. Excuse me. And she's, of course, it's not the party that she wanted. She would rather her husband be there. So she's still grieving. So then we have the women are coming together. They're going to go to a Houston rodeo. And this is a suggestion by La Brita. So trying to bring the friends together. And while the women are there, they see this man. He comes over and gives Latoya a hug. And it's a guy that she's, it's one of her people in the business, And they're talking, he's nice looking and everything. They're like, girl, so they text. They're friendly. So also, so when they go to this Houston rodeo, they go to, it's like all the stuff, I guess, that goes on in a rodeo. And is my thing, am I not on? Okay. So I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. I might be having some issues or whatever. But they're at the rodeo, and at the rodeo we seeing the people ride the horses or whatever they do at rodeos, cows. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention really like that. They have a petting zoo there. And Ro was like, I ain't not feeling none of this. I don't want to be around these damn goats. Me too. I am the kid. I never forget when we used to go to the zoo and he come around to that part where they got the petting zoo at. I'm fine looking at the animals through the glass, but I don't have to be all up in the area trying to step over doo-doo and all that kind of stuff. No. So I'm the kid. I never forget my parents. They took us to the zoo. And I had a little cone with the stuff you're supposed to be feeding the goats. I'm over there crying. I didn't want them touching me. I didn't want them near me. I don't like animals. I have a brother that loves animals. I thought one day he was going to open up some kind of a pet store or something. He's always had like a real exotic fish. Like right now, he got some real exotic dogs. I think one dog he paid like $13,000 for. Some kind of African something. I don't know, but he's always had, as kids, I'm 6 years older than him. But I remember one time he called himself getting mad at my mom because he called himself bringing home a cat. Hell no. So he found some dog one time and brought it home. And I used to hate this dog besides. My brother named her Candy because there used to be a song by LL Cool J out. LL Cool J that was out. And he was like, I feel good about Candy. So my brother named his dog Candy. Yeah, how old was he? Maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8. This little ugly, raggedy old looking dog, every morning we would get up. You smell fresh shit right there in front of the damn fireplace in the living room. I don't know who would let this dog out of the breezeway, but it would be in the living room and shit. And my mom got tired of that. Get this dog, get rid of it. So my mom dropped it off at the dang on pound. My brother was upset about it. So then she would allow him to have fish. But my brother, he wanted the exotic fish. And the fish would, he would have like Oscars and piranhas. Then he want to go to the fish store to feed the piranhas mice. My mom was like, one time she goes to the basement, the fish tank is there. And she's like, why does this boy got bread in there? And when she realized it was a mouse being eaten, I'm like, oh my God. So my brother had a screen in his fish tank. Because at this time he brought it up into the dining room. I come home from school. I'm in high school. My little brother's in elementary. I come home from school and I see that damn fish on the floor. Somehow the screen fell in there because he had like a makeshift screen and then it separated I think he had a Jack Dempsey and an Oscar from this big goldfish he had. And I said, the fish committed fish-icide because he jumped out rather than have it. That Jack Dempsey and Oscar trying to eat it. So that's my little story on petting zoos and animals. I ain't with it. And Ro is not either. Ro is from the East Coast. She says she's, I think, from Baltimore, Maryland. She ain't feeling it. So anyways, as the women are at the rodeo, Elena is still feeling the way that Chloe said her husband wasn't fine. So she told Elena, come here. I need to talk to you separately because I have some things I want to talk to you about. And Elena was like, what did I say? Because she didn't mean anything about it. And she's like, I don't know if I got to come over here and be fighting or go have me a stiff drink or whatever. And so Elena was basically saying, you should never talk about anyone's husband. And she said it was tasteless. And Chloe just tell her, because she was like, because my husband is fine. Elena's like, no, he ain't. I mean, Chloe's like, no, he ain't fine. She says, my husband is fine. Elena said, I'm going to let you have it. I'm sorry, And she says to everybody, Elena's husband is fine. He's the finest man, ever or whatever. So then we see a lady, she comes up, and it's somebody that Latoria evidently had interactions with before, and Latoria could not remember her name or where she knew her from, because the lady, said, hey, Latoria, gave her a hug, and Latoria trying to figure out, where I know this lady from. And then, so as the lady, she's trying to figure this out, and the lady, she invited the lady back to meet with the other women. And then she introduces herself. She's like, oh, okay. Her name is Shaniqua. She still ain't figuring out how I know this lady. That reminds me so much of my mom. Because my mom was like, Angela, who is that again? I'm like, that's so-and-so, because my memory is pretty good. I might not be good with names, but I remember her face. Okay. So, what else we got going on here? So then, Latoria, and Chloe, they go over to the bar after, Elena had already talked to her, pulled her aside, but Latoria been a little messy and let her know that Elena says, you can't attract or pull a man of my husband's caliber, a man like my husband. Chloe's like, I don't want a man like her husband. So that's basically the end of that. That's where we leave at. So then we're on episode 3. We got Ro and Chloe talking about Latoria, about what Latoria has said to her about Elena saying that she can't pull a man of her husband's caliber. So they was like, what? I know, girl, ain't that a mess, basically. So Labrina has invited the women to the escape, what's it called? The escape spa. Her spa, which is very nice. She invited all the ladies except for Elena and Chloe, because she wanted to be a relaxing, basically rejuvenation, nice, mood and everything. And she didn't want any mess between those two. So the women are there and they're enjoying the way this spa looks. Is beautiful. And so they go over there and get like a little charcuterie board. I can say charcuterie. And they're talking. And what's the problem is Manira feels like that Latoria is shading her about her looks. Because Manira, she's short. She's a beautiful girl. She's short though, and she looks younger. Or I'm gonna say this: she used to look younger, because I went through this whole thing too. At one point in time, I used to look maybe a lot younger than I am. But at some time in my 40s, I caught up to my age. So I don't look like that young person. Because I think when I was in my early 30s, I probably still looked like a teenager. Depending on what I had on. And definitely in my 20s, I did. When I got married, somebody said I looked 12. I didn't take it as a slight. When they see a person that's short, they, most times they mostly think of you as a younger person. And Manera, she's short and petite. So, yes, from a distance, she looks young. But, honey, ma'am, you caught up with your age. Honey, you look 40. Whatever. So, when Manera was upset that Latoria had complimented her and said she looked cutesy, and that told her, she's like, cutesy? I'm not cutesy. That's like, I'm not 5. She said, well, you're not 5, you're 11. And she said, no, I'm not 11 either. She said, well, what's 11 plus 11? That is 22. So you look 22. Giving her a compliment on looking young, but it's triggering for Manera. And like I said, the spa is beautiful. So Labrina wants Latoria to call the guy that was at the rodeo. So she did call him, and because they had been texting back and forth. So she called him, and they were trying to set up a date. Latoria said something about apple juice, because I guess the women are going to have like some drinks or whatever at the spa. But Manera doesn't really drink. I don't really drink either, but I will drink some stuff, but it has to taste like juice, really, for me. And Manera was bothered that Latoria said, well, they got apple juice or something like that. And you can see she started getting agitated. He's like, you got one more time to say something about some apple juice to me, I'm going to let you have it. I'm like, what's she going to say to her? What you going to call her big? What you going to say? Because, So Rose says, so they're all sitting there, and Rose goes on to say what Chloe was talking to her about that was told to her by Latoria. And it was like, that's kind of messy. Latoria said, no, it wasn't messy. She said to me this, that Chloe cannot pull the caliber of men that she can. And they were all discussing how they feel like Elena has defense walls up, because she does. It's an issue within their relationship with her husband. And Rose says to Latoria, she feels like she can't be herself around Latoria, because Latoria already said that she hadn't had sex in 3 years. So they were talking about sex, and Latoria said, what else is there to talk about? Basically, I ain't had sex in 3 years, so there's all the sex talk I can talk about. And she really doesn't do that in public like that. So when she had mentioned something about sex to her, she's like, girl, I'm a woman of God. Just kind of playing it off. Well, she got offended by that, Ro did. She felt like she couldn't, be herself around her or whatever. And, so Latoria is explaining all this to Chloe, too. And Chloe could not believe it. She said, y'all done went to the dang on spa without me. And now these women's really sensitive. And she couldn't believe how sensitive and that Ro was. Because Ro, don't really care about, what she say or nothing. But Latoria said, I know. She said, I feel like, me always, she's going back to her childhood, being the biggest, the darkest, probably. Because I was always one of the darkest ones in my classroom. I mean, where I'm from, we got a lot of mix up here. So I was always probably one of the darkest little girls in the classroom growing up in the 70s. But I was a little kid. She said, but by her being the bigger, darker person, she said, no matter like what she said or gave a compliment, it was kind of always taken differently, like she's been aggressive or a bully. She said, but she, trying to watch her words or whatever. She's, when she said she was a woman of God, just joking or whatever. So then, we got the next scene. There's a scene with Manera and Ro, and they're discussing their issues they have with Latoya. Latoya keep making the slight comments about Manera looking young and being cutesy and the apple juice. And then Ro feeling like she cannot, be herself or have to tiptoe because she thinks she's around the church lady. So Ro has entered into counseling or therapy, and was just talking about all her issues about putting her career first, not being around her daughter as much, and just a life and trying to know how to parent her daughter, and don't want to ask her mother about it because her mother was old-fashioned and be like, if her daughter did something wrong, want to, say, oh, you need to give her a whooping. So she's trying to learn how to parent differently than the way her parents parent her. So then we have a scene where they're going to have, because when they were at the spa, okay, Labrina has said that I believe we all need to come together, and we're going to have a day at my ranch, and we're going to bring along our husbands too, or your dates or whatever. So all the women, agree. So she called the other women that went there to let them know about it too. So they're at this ranch day, which they're having a crawfish boil, and the ladies and their mates, they meet, and Chloe brings Jordan, and Jordan is a tall, nice, dark cup of coffee here. Or he's a nice looking guy, but he's the one who's 17 years her junior. Now, I will say, I think he is 28. I think he looks older than 28. I mean, I could, looking at them too, I wouldn't have thought, oh, she looked like his mama. I would have thought maybe she might have been a couple years older than him, but not 17. No, he doesn't look that young, but he's a nice looking guy. And in Chloe's confessional, she makes known that, hey, my man is fine, because all the women, married and single, turn around and look. And so who was it? I think it was Labrina. Say, we see Jordan, we try to make sure he passed the test. Is he fine or what? They try to break the ice and everything. And Chloe said, well, I need to know, what y'all think. So, all the women, Latoya said, you did good, honey. You did good. So they're all sitting around talking, and Latoya asked Elena's husband, I know y'all married for a while and all that. Would y'all ever consider just using Chloe, because she does wedding planning? Would you consider having a renewal done? And everybody look at in the confessional and looking around and stuff like, wrong road, Latoya, because they're having issues with their wedding. I mean, in their marriage. And then, Elena was like, basically look at her husband, like, we'd have been together for a long time. And he was like, maybe at a milestone, anniversary. And she wanted to know, like, which milestone? He said, maybe 20th. Only been married 15 years. But whatever he did, he needs to be doing a vow renewal. Because he's not feeling him right now. And so, Elena says she can. Okay. So then Elena kind of throw digs at Chloe's boyfriend, and basically was saying that she could not imagine herself dating a younger guy. And, talking about Chloe's boy toy, and said, I really feel he looks older. Elena says he looked like he's about 25. A little shade. And, Ro tells the ladies that she's in therapy. So at one point in time, the women separate from the men. So then the women go over and they're talking, and she lets them know she's in therapy. And her therapy is basically, to kind of learn about the women and like to kind of see herself in the ladies. And, what's her name? Latoya brings up the fact, it's good that you're, getting things out and saying what made you feel uncomfortable. And she talks about the time where it was like a misunderstanding or how she felt offended about what Latoya said about being a child of God, a woman of God. And I think, let's see, at first, what's her name? God, I'm trying to learn these new women. Ro has said child of God. And then Latoya said, no, I said woman of God. And then here goes Manira. I'm calling her everything but the wrong name. Manira says, see how you corrected her about calling you a child, but you still want to come at me about about me looking younger, my size, apple juice and all these other things, trying to make me feel little. Victoria's like, what? Like, where do we get to, where are we going with this conversation? So, Latoya said, I'm done with it. I already said, you didn't like it. So, okay, I'm sorry. I'm done with it. And so then they get up and go row. And Latoya gets something. They go and get something to drink. And Latoya's like, I don't know why she's coming at me. I feel like she said easy target. So this is why she wanted to turn up on me. And Ro explains to her Manira's struggle with being little. Basically being in the field that she was in. First of all, she's a Black woman. Or she's perceived to be Black. She looks Black. I think she is Black. I don't know. But she's a Black woman. She's a dark-skinned Black woman on top of that. A beautiful Black woman. But she's a tiny lady. She's short. She's petite. And like she said, she had been an electrical engineer for 20 years. And, some people might try to little girl her in that field because it's probably a man's field on top of that. I worked in a man's field before. I used to do construction for years. So, when they see this little bitty old woman and stuff, some of them want to, especially when you're dealing with a whole bunch of white men and they don't feel you should be there. So I'm pretty sure in her field, she was one of the onlys. So she probably always had something to try to prove. And her stature made her probably more of a target. Because, people probably want to look at her like, oh, she don't know what she's talking about. That little girl over there. And she was, kind of held on to that. And so cutesy and all those things were triggering words. And that's why Ro is letting Latoya know, So Latoya was like, okay, I understand that. And so now we move on to episode 4. I'm trying to speed this on along. So we start out with Chloe and Jordan. They're on a date. Oh, Lord. And Jordan is basically telling her, they have to date, on a date at the dugout. And they've been dating for 6 years. Remember, Jordan is 17 years, Chloe's junior. And Jordan was basically telling Chloe that basically she need to give tough love to her son. You got a grown man in your house, and like, how long you plan on letting him stay there? I think he was stepping over his bounds a little bit. Being that he's only 3 years older than the boy anyways. But it sounds like Chloe's son ain't doing nothing. So he's letting her know, you need to do something about your son, So, but the son is angry with Chloe, and he's not really speaking to his mom because she's dating somebody who is 3 years older than he is, and he's not happy about it. And she explains to her, her boyfriend Jordan that, my son, he had to, pick up and do things, that normal probably people wouldn't have to do because he's a lot older than his siblings. Like I said, the little girls are like they're probably fourth grade or third grade to first grade or something like that. And she said, he had to step in and be like a daddy to his little sisters. So, he had given up a lot. And it was, Jordan was just looking at her like, whatever. He need to be doing something with himself, basically. So, at this moment in time, when they're sitting there and they're talking, and Chloe, she starts, kind of tearing up, because she's like, she, I guess there's some hard truths to it. She just really didn't want to hear, and that's her son, she's going to do everything, to try to help her son. So then we have another scene where there's Latoya, and she's talking with her counselor, Miss Sylvia, and she explains the situation she's having with Manira. And the counselor lets her know that maybe the word, even though cutesy is not a triggering word for you, because she called her cutesy because she said normally Manira is dressed up, but that day she dressed down, and she had on a like a sweat outfit and a pair of Jordans. She was like, "Oh, you cutesy." Manira didn't like her. She was like, maybe cutesy is a very triggering word for Manira. And at this time, she's like, okay, I didn't see it that way. So, so she was telling Miss Sylvia, well, maybe you could come out and have a group therapy session with me and the ladies. So they're setting that up, okay? So she's going to have a group therapy session for the ladies. So now we're at date night, and we have date night with the mom, which is Miss Diane, Norm, and Manira, because she wants her mother and her husband to get, see eye to eye and get along better. And it was good conversation. And the mother, Miss Diana, said, she's proud of her son-in-law, and that she appreciates what he does for her daughter. And he's a good guy. It's maybe some things that may be a little culturally different, so they got all that stuff kind of ironed out. And he said, maybe we can go bingo together. She said, can't we go to McDonald's first? So she want to go either McDonald's and bingo or bingo and McDonald's, okay? So then we have Labrina and her husband, Will. They're talking about her older son. And her older son, he's 15, and they call him Papa. Papa, he goes back and forth between her house and his dad's house. They're co-parenting that way. So at her house is a little bit more structured, and at his dad's house is not so structured. And what's going on, his grades are falling. So she had talked to the school, and she's like, some things that got to happen, because he's 15. We got to get things situated because, before you know it, he's going to be ready for college or ready to do something. And we want to make sure and instill that, hey, grades are important, school is important, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's that on that. What is it? Hold on a second. My son is calling me. Let me mute it. Sorry about that. Okay. So that's that on them. Let me make sure. Okay, so we got Labrina and her son. And then it's so funny because you know how they always make jokes about black houses or whatever. Even though they're in that big, pretty damn house. And she's like, what's that sound? He goes, that's the alarm system. A smoke alarm needs a battery. So it's chirping. So after they're having this deep conversation, and she's hearing this smoke alarm going off, okay, that, he needs to put a battery in it. So then we have Chloe and Nico. And her and her son, that she's at home and she's, trying to talk to him. And he's giving her trying to give her the business, and he's mad at her for dating this person that's like 3 to 4 years older than him. He's a struggling rapper. But she say, let me get some water. She says, I don't see you going to the studio. What you doing with yourself? What's your backup plan? And, because he was, talking about her. She said, because when I was your age, I was doing this. He was like, well, when you was 20, you was living with your mama and you weren't paying no bills around there. She said, I was in school. I was doing this. I had you. He was like, trying to put her on blast because her mama didn't make her pay no bills. But she said, I was out here hustling. making a lifestyle, setting you up so we could be, great like we are now, so that you can sit on your ass and not work, because I don't believe he's working. So she was like, you need a backup plan. He gets mad and kind of walk off because he's not really wanting to speak to her. Like, when she comes in the room, he leaves because he's mad. He said it's weird that she's dating somebody that is 3 or 4 years older than him. And she said, what business is it of yours who I date? Go ahead, mama. Ain't like it's his friend, so he need to, get it together. Her son looks younger than what he is, and that boyfriend she got looks older to me. And usually it's different because the boyfriend is dark skinned, so usually dark people don't age. And her son is high yellow, and he looks like I could put him at 20 or as a teenager still. So he looks good. He's a nice looking guy, got tattoos and everything, but he ain't doing nothing. He's probably helping with her, with his sisters and everything. But he ain't out there, hustling. He ain't hustling Houston yet. So then we have a scene with Labrina and her family. So she has her mom and dad there. And basically, they're having dinner and everything, and they get to talking about, her kids. She has one that's 3, that's with her husband, a little girl, and I think her name is Winter. And then we have Papa, who's 15. The daddy is funny. And they asked the question like, how old do you feel like, what time or what age do you feel like a child should leave home? And he said 18. And the mama was like, yeah. And the issue that they have, Labrina has, is she felt like she got pregnant with her son at 19 and she had to leave the house. And she had no help. Nobody gave her any instructions. She had to struggle and all this and that. Nobody really has a book. She's like they were just on survival mode. And her mom was like, usually most people in their 20s have a hard time getting an apartment. She's but letting her know that, hey, you had to leave because you didn't follow the rules. And I also kind of feel like, when you make your bed, you're going to have to lay in it. You had your baby at 19, so life is going to be a little different for you versus a person who's 19 at home with no kids. I'm sorry. So sometimes some parents will give a child tough love. My daughter had her baby at 19, honey. And let me tell you what, I wasn't getting up with no baby in the middle of the night. No. Girl, honey, I didn't even hear it. To tell you the truth. No, because I'm going to let you get used to that. And honey, my daughter was what? She had her baby. And because she was 19, she graduated high school. And honey, she was out of high school for a couple dang on months and got pregnant. But she had asked for, birth control pill, but it just, she didn't take them right. So that's what happened. But then, so she had the baby, and the baby was 3 months old and she got pregnant again. I cried the first time. The second time, I ain't crying because she know how not to get pregnant. So her and the baby daddy, they got these kids together. He had no kids but with her. So they had to figure it out. I help as much as I can. But, at some point, you have to let your children be kind of grown. Now, my husband still think I do a lot. But I do. But I, tried it because she stayed home for a while. And then, I think when she had the second one, I think he was about a couple months old. She just said, I just can't, I shouldn't have to have y'all, I think she turned 20, and I got 2 babies here. So, her and the dad, they moved in together. She was in school for cosmetology at the time. And she also worked for me. So, I was trying to set my daughter up, so she would have make sure she had a trade, something she can always do, and that the way she can make money. Now, I'm gonna tell you one thing, my daughter, she makes decent money. She don't, she just bought her a home. And, she just had a baby. So her kids are 13, 12, and 2 months. Well, they just turned 3 months. Go figure. But yeah, she's doing well. Just had a house built up from the ground, honey. Really nice. So she's doing her little cutesy thing. So, but I can understand how, Labrina, kind of said that was a strain between her and her mother, because her mother, really didn't give her the tools. Because she was saying, like, if her son had an issue, she wouldn't make him leave. But I think if your kid being grown and don't want to follow the rules, then shoot, you can't have two grown women in the house. Somebody got to be. I feel like the adult, and if it's two adult women, we can't live here at the same time. Because if you ain't gonna be doing everything I'm doing, because I said I'm the only motherfucker over here getting it on, because we pay the bills over here. Now I didn't make my kids; they didn't have to pay no bills over here. No, the only thing my son had to pay is his portion of the car insurance. Because of him, our car insurance was $869 a month. So I said, "Oh, we're gonna split that month 3 ways." But I tried to help them out, boost them up, as long as I could. I didn't ever force my daughter to leave. She wanted to leave on her own. My son, when he finally left home, when he went to college. But when 2020 happened, he was back at home. He stayed at home. There was no big deal for him to leave. He just moved out, and he was calling me yesterday, the day before yesterday, trying to figure out how to pay bills. He just bought a home himself, a brand new house. He ain't never paid. He was like, "Mom, he was putting everything on auto pay." I said, "Boy," I said, "Well, go ahead. You want to put your utility bills on auto pay?" I need to see him first, but he was trying to figure out, like, because I think he was really trying to freak out. I said, "They'll send you something in the mail so you get things set up." He was like, "Because I don't want my stuff turned." I was like, "Boy, shut up." But he had never paid bills before, other than his portion of the insurance bill and whatever he maybe a credit card he had or something. But he stayed home until he was 25. Because I was like, it's no sense in you moving out, and rent is ridiculously high. Why pay $1,300-$1,400 a month for an apartment when you could buy your own place? And that's the way because even last summer, before my daughter built her home, she moved home to save money. She moved home. Her kids were with their dad the whole summer, and she came here from June to September to save that money so she could have it for her down payment and closing costs. And she was in her house in September. So, I do believe in trying to help a kid, but I think when kids are too two grown people can't stay in the same house, somebody got to be the kid, and that's the way I feel about it. So, so she talks about that to her mother and explains how she felt about it. It was really a good conversation, and the mother just let her know, "Hey, I'm sorry if you felt any type of way. I always loved you." She said, rules have to be followed. And most people in their young 20s, we're still trying to figure things out. And most people in their young 20s probably can't get an apartment by themselves. But, her parents had her young. So, like my mom said, it's not a book to parenting. We don't know. We try to do the best we can. And, that's how it is. So, that it was a good talk, and like I said, her mom apologized. So now we make it to the group therapy. So at the group therapy, the therapist, Miss Sylvia, says, each of the ladies, they may be different, but you fit together like a puzzle. So we're going to be touching each other. We're going to interact and all that. So it's best that we try to get basically on the same page and understand each other. So the first person to share was Elena. She shared about her marital woes with her husband and how they're seeking therapy individually to try to get their relationship back like it's supposed to. Now, Chloe thinks that Elena is withholding information. She's holding back. She's only being very vague about the situation. And in the confessional, Elena says, she's not going to share everything because she's protecting her husband, but basically letting us know she ain't got over whatever that happened. She don't trust him like that. And so we just kind of figured it was probably infidelity. And then Ro talks about, basically her parenting to her daughter and basically the issues of her always been career oriented and things like that. And Labrina talks about her strained relationship with her mother, as her mother, she felt like should have basically interceded or coached her better as when she was a young mom. And then she said, because my mom was basically in survival mode, and that kind of struck a nerve with Chloe, because Chloe said, I feel like that she's in survival mode her own self. And she said, maybe, when her husband died, she was struggling with raising her daughter. So, you're trying to, her kids, and raising them alone without a father. So she was on survival mode, and her son was grown. So, she kind of cried. She said, she wanted to know if her life is so chaotic, is she not loving her children? Does her children not feel love? So, they were all having these deep conversations. And Latoria, she shares that her father, she lost her father about a year ago, and that was like her everything. That was her best friend. And, right now she's trying to navigate life without her dad. I understand. I'm not there, but like I go and see my dad, and he had to have a portion of his leg amputated. First, it started out with a toe, then it became up to his just below his knee. So I go out there today, and I'm like, he got on shorts. It's a little chilly today, and I'm like, no, don't go in there because he's out smoking. He's at a rehab nursing home. And I'm like, why he just got on socks? Because he's in a wheelchair and he's still maneuvering things around. I said, you need to make sure you have your shoes on. I said, because I don't want, because he's a diabetic, you get a cut on your toe, on your other, your good foot, or the only foot you got left, and have an issue. So he was like, yeah, okay. And then, because I brought out one shoe, he goes, where's the other one? I'm like, Dad, you only got one foot right now. He goes, oh. So, but as soon as it starts, when it heals, he'll get fitted for a prosthetic. So we can't wait. I said, well, I got to thinking, I said, well, he's going to have to use just one shoe now. So, but I noticed he's been, the week prior to him getting that amputation, I know my dad, because a couple of days before he went into the hospital, he was in the bed. And he's not really going to say a lot. He's not going to complain a lot, but I knew he had to be in pain. And now, because you asked him, how you feel now? I feel fine. And my daughter was saying it was another man there that had an amputation done. He said his leg or foot hurt him so much he would be crying. He said, and ever since he had an amputation, he feels so much better. And I said, I can see my dad. He's more out there, because he caught infection in the bone. So that was his issue there. So let me get on past that. So she lost her dad, and he was her number one. So she also talks about the misunderstanding that was between her and Manira. And then she had wrote a letter. But then Manira said, look, I text you and you did not reply to my text. She's like, I had to take a moment to to understand what happened. Like, where did this conversation happen that, it kind of got a little bit explosive. And so she said, yeah, so I had to process that situation. So she just ignored the text. But so then Elena says to Manira, she said, the other day when I called you cute, you kind of got mad and said, why I got to be cute. She said, so you don't like the word cute? And the girl said, no, I know people are used to looking at me and, because I'm smaller and I look younger. And Elena said, no, you don't. She said, I look young for my age. She said, no, you don't. And that's what I said. Her age done caught up with her. She's a beautiful woman, but she looks 40. Nothing about her looks little girl. You see her from a distance until you get up close on it. You say, okay, she looks like she's in her 40. Maybe from a distance, you might thought she was younger, but as you get up in her face, you can tell that's a mature woman. We understand. We know you are a woman. We know you are a woman that is 40 something. or late 30s, but you definitely look 40 something. Beautiful though. She just looked mature. And so the Miss Sylvia said, well, let Latoya read her letter that she wrote to Manera. And she basically states that, she's a person who always likes to give compliments. She always wants people to feel, comfortable around her. And I think it's got to do with her being, a bigger girl and maybe feeling like people might perceive her more as a bully. So she's like, I'm always trying to, basically give out compliments and everything. She said, I did not know that saying that you look young and all these things would make you feel away. And she says, I'm sorry. She said, maybe I should have said, I forgot the word she used, another word. But she said, so she said she was sorry. And she was, didn't want her to feel that way. Manera said, she felt like Latoya was sincere in her apology and she accepted it. So then Labrina says, this group is a gumbo and every ingredient is needed. So she was like, this roux ought to be darker than me. And this is a gumbo. Everything about us is needed to make this perfect gumbo. So then they go ahead and there's like a single night that Chloe has invited the single ladies to. So they're going to the Mocha Lounge, I believe that is what it is. And she also invites another lady. And she invites that lady named Shaniqua, that's her name. Shaniqua from the dang on rodeo. Because at the rodeo, Shaniqua was doing a lot, And Chloe kind of liked her energy, so they traded numbers and they becoming friendly. So she thought she would be a good fit for the group. Oh, now Ro was not excited that this lady is coming. First of all, they didn't know the lady was coming until they all got there, and she said she had a surprise. Chloe said that, and it was like, well, wait a minute, isn't this the person, the contact that Latoya had? Latoya said, basically, I don't really remember her like that. Chloe let the woman know that Latoya did not really remember her. So I guess the woman got offended. Doing way too much. So she gets offended and honey, she come there receipts in hand. So like I said, Ro, she's not impressed with this woman being here. She's like, I don't like being around new people. We all came to hang out. And I don't need to be watching my words around this woman that I don't know. I understand that. So the new woman comes over there. Ro calls her Shaquiqui. So Shaquiqui came doing the most and coming at Latoya. And Latoya was like, what the hell is going on? And she said that Latoya was doing character assassination because Latoya act like she don't know her. Latoya said, we may have, chatted over Facebook years ago. She said, no, we didn't chat over Facebook. We did business together. And she's like, well, she going back to try to look at her Facebook thing. She know, honey, she came with the emails printed. It's like, what is this, a folder? And Latoya said, what in the FedEx Kinko is going on? So here the lady come in talking fast, talking shit. It's like, do you know me or not? And Chloe was like, what? She was outdone. She said, I didn't bring her in here for this. What are you trying to accomplish is what Ro wants to know. What are you trying to prove? And then when she looks and throws out these emails that she printed off, Latoya said, these are from 2014. Do you know how many people Latoya probably has done business with since 2014? And you're not really her friend. You were a business acquaintance back then. Maybe she just said, she didn't slight you. She even invited you to come hang out with the girls at the rodeo. but you got upset because she didn't remember you. That's crazy. And it got to the point, because Ro was like, what are we doing? What? This is weird. Why you print off all this shit? Shaquequi calls Ro a bitch. That's how it is. And we're all caught up. And I'm done. And maybe next time when I do this, I only got to do one episode instead of the whole thing. So we know the girl's name. We have Labrina. Let me go ahead and put it back up here again, my asset. We're going to start from left to right. We got Labrina. We got Ro. We have, oh Jesus, what's the names? We have Chloe. We have Latoria. We have Elena. And we have Manira. This is a good show. Give it a chance. You guys would like it. I don't know if I bored y'all or whatever, but it's a really good show. A real good show. You would laugh. You would kiki in there. They had little tear-jerking moments. It was all of the things, and you see excellence. And like I said, these are not like it's not like housewife shade. Not really. We're not really out here coming at people's marriages, but they throwing a little shade. They're having a little kiki. It's a good show. Like I said, I don't know who's behind it, because first I thought it was a Carlos King thing. Speaking of Carlos King, honey, I'm minding my business on TikTok. And if y'all want to follow me, I'm Angela Hogue on TikTok. So, some of the stuff, usually I go to TikTok. I don't do too much on there. I only go over there to make videos. And so when I post video over here or on Facebook, I done made it most likely on TikTok or CapCut. And I just post whatever I post, I'll post over there. Well, Mr. Kingdom Reign that came down in my comments. I said, ah! Kingdom Reign that came in my comments and even liked a couple of my different videos. They were pertaining to Love and Marriage Huntsville. But if he go through all of my videos, he'll see where I did some videos on him and Dr. Heavily on their Messy Mondays. I used to love their Messy Mondays. But Carlos King, he came in and he said, not you using, because when what's his name? The scene with Martell and Maurice. And that scene was when Maurice was talking about how his charges was thrown out or whatever, and I had the Law and Order music behind it, because when I did my live, I kind of played that out, and so I clipped up the pieces, and I even made a video and stuck it over TikTok. And he said, not you using the Law and Order. I like Carlos King. So he liked a couple of my videos. I thought, oh, cool. Go me, because I'm worldwide, honey. Like Candy said, I'm worldwide. So yeah, that's my little good news for today. So, like I said, this show comes on Saturday evenings at 9:00 after Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is Heart Hustle Houston. What is it? How many women is it? 6 women. They all got it going on. They have interesting stories. We see Black excellence, and I love it. It's a good show. It really is. It's giving. You would like it. So that girl, I don't get me something to eat. So you guys drop down in the comments after you watch the show. Let me know what you think, and we could. I'm probably going to do my lives on it on I don't know, probably on Tuesdays instead of. I figure I'd give myself enough time so I can be able to write down all my notes on this. But yeah, I done caught up, and we're on episode. So the next episode will be episode 5. I believe they may be skipping this week because it's Labor Day weekend. So it'll be back on, I believe, the 13th. But no, don't give me the line. Wait a minute. That wouldn't make it the 13th. I don't know. Don't give me the line. I think they have an episode coming on this Saturday. It may be. But anyways, it's a good show. Y'all need to check it out. Support the Black shows. Make sure they get another season, but it's a really good show now. Because this make the second thing out of Houston. Carlos King had a show out in Houston. I don't know if they're coming back. What was it? The lady, was it like the older lady? And I think she bought up a lot of properties around Houston, and her kids are in grandkids are in real estate. That was a good show too. So please like, share, and subscribe if this is something you want to listen to. And I'll be back. I might not be back until, I thought I was gonna do a story time tonight, but I'll do a story time tomorrow because I got to talk about what went on with my mom, and it had me so mad today. It really did, and it been going on for a whole week. But thank you, Lord Jesus, we done made it through. We done made it through. So, and I would do a story time on that and just let y'all know. Like I said, my mom, she's a teaching right now. She's a accountant by trade, and the things that she had to go through. So you guys have a blessed evening. I'm about to go get me something to eat. My stomach is in my bag. So I see y'all tomorrow. Good night.